Hofstad's value dimensions collectivism. In China, collectivism culture emphasizes the group such as the organization or the family and like the concept of harmony. It values harmonious society and avoid direct confrontation. We hold that we are members of a group, so we must loyal to it. Everyone is responsible to the group which he belongs. The hurt to an individual is the one to the whole group, and the benefit mean the same way. In China, if an individual does not make his best effort, it is seen as letting down the entire group. In other words, both success and failure are kind of team affair. So it would be a great honor for people to make contribution to the group. For example, in China, when you are introduced to authors, people will start with your last name because in Chinese names, last name comes first, which is inherited from the father to represent the family. In American, normally you will just tell people your first name. High uncertainty avoidance. According to Guy Hofstede, the Chinese culture had a level of uncertainty avoidance, which means ambiguity and uncertain situations are largely unbearable in the culture. This is also why the Chinese dislike taking risks and strongly prefer avoiding losses. On the other hand, the Western culture has a low level of uncertainty avoidance, which means people inside the culture do not feel as threatened by uncertain or ambiguous situations. For example, managers are more controlling, less approachable, and less likely to delegate to subordinates than their law avoidant counterparts. That says, managers in China do not place as much trust in their employees as managers in other countries like US, France, or Sweden. Chinese government had usually established really strict legislation to control social behaviors. The most well-known law is public execution. Large, high, power detent. It means the action to with the less powerful members of organization within a country. Accept that power is distributed unequality. It is the power detent that people are willing to accept between the superior and the subordinate. There is no doubt that China is a country that has large power detent, the same as the most Oriental countries. In China, the leaders sometimes have absolute right to make decisions and are entirely privileged, no matter what disagreement or complaints. The subordinate may have a few people such as superior or head have a lot of power, and the majority of employees have little. Chinese culture values large power detent. In a family setting, children are expected to obey their parents. The value of respect between unequal status members in the family is taught at young age. For example, parents and grandparents assume the authority role in the family decision-making process. At school, teachers are highly respected, and it is considered impolite to question the authority of the teachers. That is probably one reason why students in the class seldom ask questions about the lecture of the teacher.
I must do it. I must prove that I'm the best and I'm going to get the best player of the game.
发现力量，Come on, come on, we are a team. We can do it.
Both Chinese and Malaysian Chinese are in collectivism culture. From what Chinese and Malaysian Chinese said during the competition, we can see that they value teamwork more than self-achievement.
Looking at this document, have you examined carefully? Do you know how to solve this small mistake for you?
Oh, I'm sorry, Bob, but I have that lesson in trying to travel in front. It's no problem.
So, have you examined the movie? Do not listen to Paul and find the person in charge.
Have portrayed the hierarchy that exists in a Chinese company. From our acting just now, it is clear that both Chinese and Malaysian Chinese are rather afraid of their superiors. This shows a higher power distance between the employees and the employers.
Masculinity and femininity. Chinese culture values masculinity more than femininity. Male members in the family are supposed to go out and make money. Female members in the family are generally responsible for taking care of all the family members and nurturing. Males in the family are asked to carry out the dignity and heritage of family. When China becomes more open to the Western civilization, females begin to gain more power and they see more equality in the society. Nowadays, Chinese culture falls more equally between the masculine and feminine culture. Confucian dynamism. The Chinese rank extremely high on long-term orientation at 118, meaning they focus on persistence and perseverance that they will dedicate. However, much time is required to achieve their goals. This seen in the very time-consuming Chinese negotiation process. The time required to build trust and long-term relationships, and their focus on long-term results versus short-term goals.
In long-term orientated cultures, there is more of a sense of a united society working towards common goals. Traditions are maintained through popular shared rituals, and there is a strong work ethic among individuals rather than a culture of personal gratification.
Cockroach and Strawberry's value orientations. Human natural orientation.
Chinese people are both good and evil. The principle of yin and yang is that all things exist as inseparable and contradictory opposites. The principle is a fundamental concept in Chinese philosophy and culture in general. The two opposites of yin and yang attract and complement each other, and as their symbol illustrates, each side has at its core an element of the other. Neither pole is superior to the other, and as an increase in one brings a corresponding decrease in the other. A correct balance between the two poles must be reached in order to achieve harmony. Person natural orientation. The Chinese regard man as a part of nature and believe that man should not try to overcome or master nature, but has to learn how to adapt to it to reach harmony. This is because the Chinese believe that nature has the way Tao, by which all things become what they are. There are extent and destruction, life and death, forest and decline. What is internal has neither change nor any definite principle itself. Since the way has no definite principle itself, it is not born in any particular locality. Therefore, it is not wise to hold too tight on to what one has got or lost. There is no such thing as fate or misfortune in life, as they are entangled with each other as well as cause of each other.
Wu Wei means in Chinese non-doing or doing nothing. It sounds like a pleasant invitation to relax or worse, fall into laziness or apathy. Yet this concept is key to the noblest kind of action according to the philosophy of Taoism, and is at the heart of what it means to follow Tao or the way. According to the central text of Taoism, the Tao Te Ching, the way never acts, yet nothing is left undone. This is the paradox of Wu Wei. It doesn't mean not acting, it means effortless action or actionless action. It means being at peace while engaged in the most frenetic tasks, so that one can carry these out with maximum skill and efficiency. Something of the meaning of Wu Wei is captured when we talk of being in the zone, at one with what we're doing, in a state of profound concentration and flow. Wu Wei is closely connected to the Taoist reverence for the natural world, for it means striving to make our behavior as spontaneous and inevitable as certain natural processes, and to ensure that we are swimming with rather than against currents. We are to be like the bamboo that bends in the wind, or the plant that adjusts itself to the shape of a tree. Wu Wei involves letting go of ideals that we may otherwise try to force too violently onto things. It invites us instead to respond to the true demands of situations, which tend only to be noticed when we put our own ego-driven plans to one side. What can follow is a loss of self-consciousness, a new unity between the self and its environment. But none of this means we won't be able to change or affect things if we strive for Wu Wei. The Tao Te Ching points out that we should be like water, which is submissive and weak, and yet which can't be surpassed for attacking what is hard and strong. Through gentle persistence and a compliance with a specific shape of a problem, an obstacle can be worked around and gradually eroded. The idea of achieving the greatest effects by a wise, strategic passivity has been central to Chinese notions of politics, diplomacy, and business. In the manuals on wisdom,
one way of looking at cultural attitudes to time is in terms of time orientation. The time orientation of a culture affects how it values times. A person may be encouraged to a complex socialization process to have a past, present, or future orientation. Historical China was a society that gave first-order preference to the past time orientation. There is a saying in the Chinese that history is the mirror of the present. The past had an influence on what is currently happening and will happen. Chinese society holds high respect for their ancestors, tradition, and established ways of doing things, and see this as a way to respect society members from the past. Moreover, they also preference for all interpersonal relationships. Chinese people tend to trust people that they know more than they do strangers, and they put a lot into maintaining a relationship. For example, in Chinese culture, elders are viewed as a source of wisdom and spirituality. In traditional Chinese houses, altars are made for deceased elders to honor and remember them. Even after departing from the world, they are supposed to be the guiding forces in spirit.
Activity orientation. This theory was presented by Crackhorn. It is an activity orientation that defines how the people of a culture view human actions and the expression of self through activity.
China is defined in a being-oriented culture. It is one's primary sense of identity based on fixed relationships and social structures. In most Chinese society, being is the most valued orientation. Striving for great things is not necessary or important. They aim to have a worthwhile and meaningful life through living present to the moment. Moreover, Chinese have a high degree of moral self-control or self-regulation, at least publicly. For the individual Chinese, his family members or intimate friends are the only channel to whom to express his inner feelings. It was found that more socially oriented Chinese tend to blame or punish themselves when reacting to frustration. Chinese were more cautious in verbalizing their responses. This can be useful in explaining why today only rare occasion we see a Chinese lose control and become angry.
Hall's high context and low context orientation. Edward Hall defines intercultural communication as a form of communication that share information across different cultures and social groups. One framework for approaching intercultural communication is with high context and low context cultures, which refer to the value culture placed on indirect and direct communication.
China is considered a high-context culture as communication tends to be indirect, provide less information in verbal expression, and the real message needs to be interpreted according to the context. If you neglect the importance of context in China, then you increase the chance of misunderstanding, confusion, and even conflict. For example, Chinese people, when a manager assigns tasks, they are more likely to say yes, even when they don't understand. Instead, they will try to figure it out by themselves, rather than ask their boss for help. In Chinese, it's really serious about the hierarchical, so they don't want to bother more senior colleagues, which may cause annoyance or make them seem less capable. Silence can be interpreted in different contexts. When Chinese people remain silent, Westerners might interpret this silence as rudeness or disinterest. However, it doesn't mean that they're not interested in the conversation or the people, but they need a moment to process what has been said, and the other purpose is they're posting at a sign of respect to the speaker, to keep harmony and avoid conflict or embarrassment.
Regional orientation. The Chinese as well as Asian are collectivistic orientation. They see the group as the most important of all social entities. For them, social rules focus on promoting selflessness and putting community needs ahead of individual needs. Working as a group and supporting others is essential, and people are encouraged to do what's best for society. The collectivistic nature of the Chinese is reflected in the Chinese family and kinship system. The primary concern of a majority of Chinese was to protect and enhance their private kinship's interests and their group.
Moreover, Chinese may well be able to satisfy themselves for benefits that largely occur to a particular social unit, or even to social as a whole and their group, and take precedence over individual goals. And when making decisions, an individual Chinese always take into account other members of the group. For example, in a poor Chinese family, the daughter and the elder son may have to leave their educational opportunity by going out to work so as to secure economically the whole family.
What are face and face work? Face is a term we use as a metaphor for the self-image you want to protect to other people, since it is how you want others to see you. Face work is the construction and communication of the face. In other words, face work is the various actions you perform in order to deserve the respect and honor from it. In China, it is a kind of collectivistic culture. For them, the face represents a cultural understanding of respect, dignity, and social statuses. Moreover, it represents a person's reputation at work, family, friends, and even in a society as a whole. Sometimes, other compliments and respect may cause someone to gain face, while insulting action or remarks can cause someone to lose face. For example, a Chinese mother makes many efforts to give her child the opportunity for good education, both through financial and emotional support. The result is that the child is accepted as a prestigious foreign university. Not only do the parents feel proud of their child's achievements, but also feel that they have gained face through the child's achievement. Another example is a young Chinese man is trying to find a woman to marry, but he has met with no success. After reaching his early 30s, All of his close friends have already married. Some even have children. In light of his failure to marry when his family, friends, and society expect him to, he feels a significant internal load of faith. In addition, the young man's friends may look down on him due to his failure to marry, and hence give him less faith through their action and would, doing social gatherings. These actions would then further compound the load of faith.